kicked out of their homes by landlords has surged in the last year. The latest report from the Residential Tenancies Board also shows that those taking up a new tenancy are paying an average of €244 a month more than those with existing tenancies. To find out what's going on here, I'm joined by the chair of the Irish Property Owners Association, Mary Conway. Mary, good morning and welcome to LMFM.
Good morning, how are you?
There has been a 17% surge in tenant evictions in the last year. Why is that?
The 17% for antisocial behaviour and non-paid rent and pretty much anything that's disrupting that the landlord is either the neighbours are being disturbed, the landlord isn't getting his rent, or just general poor behaviour. And that's just in private tenancies. We know that the councils throughout the country have a lot of rent arrears as well. Now, I don't like the words that the Irish Examiner used this morning, that they were kicked out, because it's actually very difficult to remove a tenant, even with poor behaviour, because the delays with the RTB are so long that the tenant knows that they can get away with poor behaviour for a long time.
And how long? How long is it taking? Because obviously a landlord has to negotiate with the Residential Tenancies Board. They, as you said, can't just throw somebody out. But realistically, how long does it take?
Well, in some cases it can take up to 2 years. So what happens is a tenant is late with the rent. The landlord has to give a 28-day notice to the tenant to pay the rent. If they don't do it at that point, the landlord then has to issue a termination notice, and that then goes to the RTB. The tenant obviously isn't going to go because they know they can get away with staying there pretty much as long as they want. I have a case at the moment, I don't want to be specific, but the tenant stopped paying rent. They're a small portion of rent to the council. It's a tenancy in Dublin, and then the landlord lost his HAP payment. So the landlord at this stage is down about 12 or 13,000. The tenant is refusing to go. We went for an adjudication. The tenant didn't show up. We went to tribunal. The tenant again didn't show up. Then we got a determination order from the RTB, and it took about 6 weeks from the date of the tribunal to get that. So we're now probably 6 months into it. We have gone now to get the determination order enforced through the RTB, because it's going to cost the landlord in excess of €3,000 plus VAT to get a solicitor to act on it, and then to get the sheriff or the bailiff out, it's going to be another €5,000. So and at this point, the tenant still isn't paying any rent. So the arrears are clocking up. The tenant is still there. We know, because we've seen the house, that it's completely destroyed and that it'll have to be reinstated. And it's going to take another couple of months to get the determination order enforced and to get the sheriff appointed and get the tenant out.
Okay,
so
but looking
June
at
of last year.
So looking at those statistics, tenant evictions have gone up by 17%. It obviously suggests that there have been some successes in getting tenants out of premises.
Yes, there is, and there's some success in getting them out eventually. I would say to any of the landlords that I work with, kiss the rent goodbye, and the damages, you're not going to get them. You can't get blood out of a stone. The tenant doesn't have the money. They've no intention to pay. The best outcome is to get your property back, and hopefully you can reinstate it or sell it or whatever. Okay,
so this obviously, finally, Mary, this obviously highlights the need for a fair degree of reform within the Residential Tenancies Board.
Well, the Residential Tenancies Board are working on the Residential Tenancy Act, which was originally created in 2004, and there's been, something like 60 changes after that. The Tenancies Board are restricted in what they can do, and they're restricted resources, and the more complaints that come in, the more backlogged everything gets. And they had a stakeholders meeting during the week, and they said it took 16 weeks from the time a dispute went in until adjudication was passed. I find that very hard to believe from anything I've dealt with in the past. It's taken months and months to even get somebody to look at a case.
It does need to be more adequately resourced and able to in order to speed up their whole process.
Yeah, and I mean, most tenants are good, most landlords are good, but it's very frustrating that there's no form of a triage system that if a dispute comes in, that it can't be escalated in a case of somebody with huge arrears to get them out.
All right. Mary Conway, Chair of the Irish Property Owners Association, thank you very much indeed, Mary, for joining us.